What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, coming at you with another episode of Pat's Daily, brought to you by our good friends at Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media, but more from them later. For now, I got my good buddy Alex Barth with me. As always, at least once a week, we try to give you a quality college football show, and today we're going to do something a little fun. We're going to mix sports a little bit, all right? Alex, you had this brilliant idea. We're going to combine what we all love, the draft. Get a better understanding of the prospects, but do it through the prism of March Madness because we are deep in the month of March. So this is your idea. So I want to make sure you can do it justice. Please explain to the people what we've got in store for them today.
Yeah, so I usually do this every year just kind of on my own, and I figured it might be a fun idea to bring it to a show, which is essentially we're going to go through the March Madness bracket, but we are going to pick it based on which schools have the best prospects in the NFL draft. So for instance, whatever the matchup is, we'll take the two schools. We'll go through, all right, these are the prospects from school A. These are prospects from school B, whichever we think has the totality of the better prospects. So one might have like one player we really like, but another school might have like three solid players. And, we'll debate. We'll have some fun with it and we'll figure it out. And I do occasionally use this in my own mock drafts. I got a win a couple years ago on Montana State, thanks to Troy Anderson. I usually pick, if I have like a niche player I really like, I'll usually pick that school in the first round if they're in the tournament. But it's, again, the pre-draft, at least from a media point of view for us, is I think my job is to educate people on as many players and as many possibilities that could happen. So what a great way to just learn some names and have some fun with it. 'Tis the season to go through the bracket. So again, the rules are, we'll look at each matchup. We'll look at the players on both sides. We'll pick. And we'll run most of these out in the first round. If a school has no players in the draft, they're just obviously out. If we get two schools with no players, we'll default to, does either school actually have a football program? And if neither school has a football program, we'll just pick the better seed and we'll move on because they'll be out in the next round anyway. So, that's what it is. Again, I usually just kind of do this on my own, but I thought it might be fun to make it a little interactive. And Tayler, I know you've kind of really been busy the last couple of weeks. You've really started grinding the film. So maybe we put that to the test a little bit here.
No, I'm actually excited. I finally get to have like a really informed opinion, not just scouting reports and like some clips and, things I got to see here or there. And I'm going to get to learn about all these niche players who I'm probably not even going to get a chance to get to just because you have just an encyclopedic knowledge.
I discover new players like this sometimes too, especially at the smaller schools, like at the FCS schools. So we both might learn some new players tonight. And I'm not afraid to pull up a scouting report if we have to pull up a scouting report.
All right. Well, let's do it. I'm excited. All right. We'll pull up the screen right here. Oh, let's see. How does this work?
Yeah, I can get it. Oh, you got it? There we go. All right. So Stetson doesn't, I think they do have a football team actually, but they don't have anybody in the draft. They do their FCS. So UConn's going to advance, but just to remind everybody, because Tayler, these are actually some players we've talked about before. Mm-hmm. UConn's draft class this year is guard Christian Haynes, defensive end Eric Watts, and linebacker Jackson Mitchell. And Haynes and Watts are expected to be drafted. Haynes a day 2 pick. Watts is day 3. Mitchell's like fringe draftable right now on the projections. Yeah. So
it's like you have the combine, right?
Yeah, and Senior Bowl too.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
We'll get more into them maybe if they have a real matchup, but we move on to Florida Atlantic and 8-9 versus Northwestern. So Florida Atlantic has two prospects in this draft. They have wide receiver Jaquan Burton and defensive lineman Evan Anderson. Neither is projected to be drafted. Northwestern has also two picks. Also, neither is expected to be drafted. Linebacker Bryce Gallagher and quarterback Ben Bryant. So not super. I'll tell you this, Ben Bryant, I've watched enough Ben Bryant. Ben Bryant's not very good.
Okay.
So on that default, we don't need to spend a ton of time learning these guys, I think, unless you want to dig more into them.
It's okay. If it gets really competitive, we'll dig in. If it's just a bunch of names we don't know, as soon as we hear something that rings a bell, they win.
Look, they're going to lose to UConn. I'll tell you that. The UConn prospects are decent. Okay. So then we have San Diego State with their lone draft prospect quarterback Jalen Maiden, and Alabama Birmingham, which has no draft prospects. So the first round, just hang with us. It's going to be a little bit of a grind, but it's going to get good. And actually, it'll get good right now because this is one of those ones, like I said in the open, Tayler, one really good player versus kind of a smattering of pretty good players. So Auburn, which is our 5 seed here, DJ James, a corner, is their top draft prospect. It's like a fringe top 100 guy. Jalen Simpson is another defensive back. I really like Jalen Simpson. We've talked about him on the show. Jeremiah Pritchett, another defensive back. Marcus Harris, a defensive lineman. Justin Rogers, a defensive lineman. And they have a few guys that are projected to be UDFAs. While Yale has just one player, but it is Kieran Amedijay, who is a tackle a lot of people like. So, Taylor, are you taking those 2 defensive backs we talked about, or are you taking Kieran?
Where do you think DJ James is going to go? Because Amedijay's probably a second-round pick.
Yeah,
and I know Simpson's like a day 3 guy.
Maybe late second, early third. You know, I really like Jalen Simpson too. And I would say Auburn's sending more talent. I think those 2 guys have a bigger impact as NFL players than just Kieran does.
I agree. I'd go Auburn. I like Kieran a lot, but yeah, that's plus, you know, he's a project as well. So those guys, I feel like they're more easily translatable at the next level.
All right. And we know here, we already said we're taking Connecticut, we're already taking Auburn. All right. Here's another one. So now we get to Auburn, and we just kind of talked about it, but they don't have an not Eric Watts, the other one, Christian Haynes, who could legitimately be a top 50 pick, who you remember from the Senior Bowl. So do you like the fringe top 100 corners, or are you taking the ceiling of the top 50 guard?
Christian Haynes feels like a sure thing, you know. Like I'll go Christian Haynes. It's tough. Right. I like those guys, especially Jalen Simpson, like I said. But yeah.
So again, Duquesne,
another developmental tackle.
Duquesne, no FCS football, no FBS football team, no prospects this year. BYU, not a great showing in this draft, but they do have Kingsley Suamatia, of course, who highlights that group. So we'll go BYU. Now, Illinois might end up being a sleeper in our little bracket here, Taylor, because they have some players. They've got Zerjon Newton, a defensive tackle who's supposed to be a first-round pick. That in itself, I think, says a lot. Isaiah Adams, an interior offensive lineman. We know about Tip Raymond, the tight end. Julian Pearl is a tackle that's expected to be drafted. And Isaiah Williams is kind of like a, kind of hybrid wide receiver running back. So are you taking Zerjon Newton and Tip Raymond over Kingsley Suamatia, basically? What is the better collection of talent?
That's crazy volume. I got to give it to Illinois. That's so many players. And 2 who are probably going to go on like day 1, day 2. Yeah. I like Kingsley a lot, but he's taking on an army there.
So Drake, nobody in the draft. Washington State has a couple of day 3 corners. We both like, I'm blanking on his last name, Chow Smith-Wade.
Yes, yeah.
Right, who had a good Senior Bowl. Now, here's an interesting one, because you look at this, you say, all right, we've got a Power 5 team in Iowa State against an FCS team in South Dakota State. But Iowa State has 2 draft prospects. TJ Tampa, who is a top 50 corner, and then some undrafted tight end that I'm not super familiar with. South Dakota State kind of has a haul here. They've got Mason McCormick, who's a fringe top 100 guard. Isaiah Davis, who's kind of a bowling ball running back. Garrett Greenfield's a top 200 tackle. And they got another tight end way down here. But there's an actual debate there. I don't know if you've dug into the South Dakota State linemen at all, but they've been getting some momentum.
I haven't, but it sounds like they've got quality and volume. So I feel like that's a pretty good win for them.
All right, we'll go South Dakota State. And then they go up against Washington State, who has Jaden Hicks, who's a day 2 safety. We talked about Smith-Wade, Brennan Jackson, who's an edge rusher. So you got kind of a bunch of day 3 guys. We saw a bunch of these guys at the Senior Bowl. I don't know if you have a thought either way on these.
Who had more guys at the Senior Bowl?
Let's see. Washington State had 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And South Dakota State had 1, 2.
Oh, so 3-2? Yeah, got to give it to Washington State.
All right, so Wazoo it is. But Zerjon Newton clears. What are you going to say?
That's a fun tiebreaker. Whoever has more guys at the Senior Bowl.
I like that. Well, tell us a little bit. I mean, you were there. Like either of those defensive backs really are the two the two big ones. Chow Smith-Wade, who had a tremendous week. And really, I mean, I think he was kind of projected to be like a fringe draftable guy before that week. And then the other one, obviously, safety Jaden Hicks. What stood out to you about them?
I wasn't there. I was watching on TV. So
oh, that's right. You were at the combine.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I remember Chow Smith-Wade was somebody who did stand out to me. I remember hearing his name a few times for good reasons. So again, it was on TV. You couldn't really see a lot of those things. It was basically whatever they were showing. It was mostly O-line drills. But yeah, I'm pretty confident with Chow Smith-Wade there.
But we're going with Zerjon Newton and Tip Raymond over Washington State.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then over Eric Watts and UConn?
I think Connecticut wins. Christian Haynes is really carrying the load.
You're going Christian Haynes over so Christian Haynes and Eric Watts over Zerjon Newton and Tip Raymond.
Yeah. Especially Tip Raymond's a blocker. Like, good, but like, and he's just a decent athlete. He's like he's your Pharaoh Brown. Like,
yeah. All right, so we head to another region here. We keep moving through. I think we all know who North Carolina has. Howard does have one player in this draft. I named Donkwa. He's an offensive tackle. He's projected to be a fringe draftable player. Wagner does not have any players. So are you taking the fringe draftable tackle? Or are you taking Drake May and the rest of and Tez Walker? Yeah.
Yeah. That's easy.
All right, so this will be an interesting one here. So Mississippi State, and I can't type and talk Mississippi at the same time. They've got some guys we like. Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker. Jaden Crumley, defensive lineman who was at the Senior Bowl. Ledatrick Griffin is one of those kind of day 3 receivers. Jet Johnson is a fringe draftable player. Michigan State, coming off a down year, has... they don't have any draftable players. I don't know who I was thinking.
I couldn't think of anybody from Michigan State so I guess that's easy.
All right, so Michigan State gets the nod. Again, here, neither of these teams
even have football programs?
No, they don't. So we'll give it to St. Mary's. Alabama, definitely a contender here in I think they've won. Georgia won it one year when they actually made March Madness. But we've got Dallas Turner. We've got Terry and Arnold. We've got J.C. Latham, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Chris Braswell, Jermaine Burton, and that's just in the top 100.
Does Charleston have a person, a program?
They do play FCS football. Do they have any players in this draft?
Sorry, Charleston.
They do. No, they do not have any players in this draft.
Okay. Yep. That's easy.
And I'm just going to take the lead. So here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah. Actually, no, it doesn't. Bama rolls.
So just as a reminder, the other UNC guys, and they have 8 players in the draft: Drake May, Tez Walker, Cedric Gray's a linebacker. Now we're on a day 3, Miles Murphy, defensive lineman. So you're taking the first round defensive collection of players over the potential franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. Alabama.
They have enough guys that are almost guaranteed to hit at the next level. And I love Drake May, but there is some bust potential there. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy.
So we haven't talked a lot about the Clemson guys during this pre-draft process. Maybe it's just left over from Bill. They never drafted Clemson players, but they got some good ones. Nate Wiggins ran the fastest 40 of any corner at the combine. He's expected to be a first round.
They were pro day too for Clemson.
Yep. Rook Orahoro. Yep. He had a good season. I like him.
He's a monster. Honestly, if they wanted like a kind of like a Dietrich Wise type, I think he'd be fantastic. If they were to stock up on draft picks, like in all my mocks, he's usually somebody I try to take like in the 3rd or 4th round. He's really good.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr., excellent linebacker. That's where I'm kind of with you with like, if they end up with like an extra day 2 pick somehow and he's on the board, he's a really good player. I don't know so much that they need to target a linebacker, but he'd be good, especially in their defense. Will Shipley, the running back, who is an experienced, do-it-all, 3-down back, super fun player. Tyler Davis was at the Senior Bowl. He's a defensive lineman. Xavier Thomas is kind of like a Josh Uche type edge rusher. And then I don't think New Mexico, I forget, New Mexico or New Mexico State has a guy in this draft. It is New Mexico State. So New Mexico, no players in the draft. Clemson clears, but they've got some tough matchups coming up. Colgate does not play football. I don't even know Baylor. Does Baylor have anybody? Oh, yeah, they do. They have He's got named Baylor in the draft. The defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl is really good. Gabe Hall.
Yes. Yeah. I remember he flashed a few times.
Nevada or Dayton doesn't play football. Long Beach State doesn't play football. All right, here we go. Arizona has some players. Nevada doesn't have anybody. So Arizona's going to move on again. But this will be interesting. So we have Arizona, which has, if I can find my mouse, Jordan Morgan, Jacob Cowing, and Tanner McLachlan. I think I pronounced that right, McLachlan, and the tight end late on day 3. And we just kind of ran through the Clemson guys. What do you think?
Oh, Clemson clears.
Clemson?
Yeah, all right. Because Jordan Morgan kind of putting that on his back. I like Jacob Cowing, but like, nah, not that much.
So here we go. Clemson, Alabama, a classic rivalry.
We know.
All right.
Roll Tide, baby.
Alabama moves on. So we've got, we'll do the Final Four at the end. We got UConn and Alabama on one side of the bracket. Now we go over here.
Before we get to the other side of the bracket, we got to pay the bills. Quick word from our friends at Prize Picks. Be right back. Football season may be over, but the action on the floor is heating up. Whether it's tournament season or the fight for playoff home court, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments this time of year. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean O'Malley? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second, that player projection won't count against you and the rest of your entries stays live. With Jason Tatum going for the MVP, I'm taking more on his points and rebounds. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, let's do this.
All right, so here we go. Purdue has just one player in the draft, but it's Tyrone Tracy. The Patriots sent a running backs coach to his pro day. Converted wide receiver. I don't know if you've gotten to check him out. Really interesting player.
I haven't yet. The running backs I'm way behind on.
Day 3 pick. Just started playing running back last year. Had a decent combine. He'll be interesting. Utah State has no players. TCU has a good amount. Josh Newton is a corner expected to go early on day 3. Brandon Coleman.
Yeah, I like him. He's one of the guys where if they had extra draft picks, I would be very interested in Josh Newton.
And then Brandon Coleman was another Senior Bowl standout. Yeah. Jared Wiley, the tight end's gotten some run. And then Amani Bailey, who was a running back who was great at the Senior Bowl.
They got a lot of guys on day 3 who I think could be some good value picks.
All right, we move on. We move on here. McNeese plays football. Gonzaga does not. By the way, that will be a pick in my actual bracket. I do not like Gonzaga.
Really? Aren't they always good?
Yeah, they annoy the crap out of me. They're not always, they're good, but they also play nobody. Their conference is terrible outside of St. Mary's. So they're a wagon every year and they're beating up on, nobody.
I didn't know Gonzaga existed until until I got to college and I went to Syracuse. So obviously college basketball was big. I did not know Gonzaga existed before that.
So Kansas has a couple top 100 picks.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. They've got Austin Booker is an edge guy. Where are you on Dominic Puny? Is he a tackler or is he a guard to you? Because there seems to be a very big split on this.
I know Brandon Thorne is if I haven't watched a guy, even if I watch somebody, I trust Brandon Thorne with my offensive line evaluating life. He thinks that Puny is more of a guard.
Okay.
But I think he thinks he could be a serviceable tackle if you needed him to, but more of a guard.
Look, still a good player. Either way, you're getting a good player. You just want to maximize him. They got Kenny Logan, who's a day 3 safety who I kind of like. Mason Fairchild's a UDFA tight end, but, could give you some reps as a blocker. And then Jason Bean, who was sort of Kansas's starting quarterback. Their starter's name was Jalen Daniels, not Jaden, Jalen. That was very confusing all year. And they play the exact same game in terms of play style.
I thought it was a typo when I saw it earlier this week. I was like, you mean Jalen or no Jaden?
He dealt with a back injury this year, though. It's like Jason Bean was the starter for most of the year, but every week it was like, all right, we're going to decide Saturday morning who the starter is. And then like 70% of the time it was Jason Bean, 6'3", 195. His running style. Remember like watching Colin Kaepernick run? The strides were just effortless. You know, he looked like a gazelle. It was just, he was gliding. Jason Bean has that kind of long leg, effortless rushing style. He's got a long way to go throwing the ball. Long way to go throwing the ball. But it's fun watching him run, and you know, he picks some defenses apart if they gave it to him. He's a UDFA, but you know, in kind of like a Malik Cunningham sort of thing where, hey, we want a different looking quarterback to be here, run the scout team. Maybe we'll give him some looks. So that, but Kansas with the multiple top, we talked about Puny, Austin Booker, they clear TCU, right?
Yeah, easy.
All right, so we got Kansas moving on. We move down. Oh, here's a good one, Taylor. You ready?
Let's do it.
South Carolina. This is a slugfest. Here we go. We've got Xavier Legette, Spencer Rattler, Marcellus Dial, who's a corner, Trey Knox, tight end, up against, I think Oregon's going to have too much talent here. I think they're going to pull off the upset.
Yeah, it's not going to be fair.
Go back to the top of my list here. They've got Jackson Powers Johnson, Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, Brandon Dorless, Kyrie Jackson, Marquise Irving, Evan Williams. Those are their top 100 guys.
Yeah. Yes. Oregon, yes.
Did you watch Troy Franklin yet?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him? Because it seems like everybody's cooled off big. And look, I was never that in on him in the first place. But I was getting a little suspicious when suddenly everybody's saying the same thing I was saying months ago and being called an idiot for.
Yeah. So the way that people like N'Keal Harry scared people off of big guys who can't separate but can like go above the rim, that's what Taekwon has done to me with undersized speedsters. Like if that's your number 3 guy, that's fantastic. If he's somebody that you don't have to rely on, but is a huge boost when he's healthy and you can like scheme, you know, advantageous situations, awesome. But I also think he's much better after the catch. Like I always compare him to Taekwon because I think their games are kind of similar, but he is a better route runner and he can actually create after the catch more than I think Taekwon, who more needs a lane. But yeah, like I just don't think he fits for the Pats at all.
All right, on to this next matchup. Now we'll see who wins the play-in. I think in our bracket, for our purposes, you have Mo Kamara, the defensive end, and Dalen Holker, the tight end from Colorado State, up against wide receiver Malik Washington from Virginia, who some people like, but I think, you know, they're all kind of day 3 picks, and I really like Kamara. I don't know if you feel differently, Taylor.
No, I like this tape. I think he'd be really interesting. Like if they want a developmental edge, I could see them going for Mo.
I thought so too, and then everybody else figured out, and I think teams are figuring out, and now he's probably going to go too high to justify that pick. Which, that's kind of the draft. That's how it happens. So you like having your secrets. There's a guy do you know actually he's still in the league? Dallas Flowers.
It sounds familiar. Is he a corner?
He's a corner and he's a kick returner for the Colts. That's the one guy. He was at Pittsburgh State. Pittsburgh, no H, State. It's a D2 school. He transferred after being an NAIA All-American. That was the one time I found a guy and was waiting for everybody else to catch up, and nobody caught up. And like, he's not an All-Pro, but from Pittsburgh State to in the league for multiple years isn't bad. But whoever wins between Virginia and Colorado State, this might be our look. You were high on Alabama, but this might be our national championship favorite, the Texas Longhorns.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Byron Murphy,
this was Stephen Corleone.
Byron Murphy, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Tavondre Sweat, Jatavion Sanders, Jonathan Brooks, Christian Jones, Jordan Whittington, loaded group.
Yeah. I think Alabama's a little more top heavy in this regard. They're just like freaking through the draft. You get a guy from Texas, you're probably going to do all right.
Tennessee, I mean, they got some guys. They got Jalen Wright, the running back. They got my guy Joe Milton. Kamal Hayden's a day 3 corner. That's kind of it, though.
Yeah, I won't make you say the thing for Joe Milton, by the way. I'll be nice.
You saw that meme today?
That was really funny. I laughed.
But I'm trying to find the clip. That's literally like word for word how it happened. What are your thoughts on Jalen Wright?
Again, running backs.
Before we eliminate Tennessee.
Priority. Yeah, like I got to get to receivers, like quarterbacks. It's just like everybody knows the quarterbacks. I'm just going to do a deep dive, then tackles, then probably tight ends, and I'll get to running backs.
So Akron does actually have a couple players in the draft. They're all projected to be undrafted, and they all have very tough names except running back Blake Anderson. But these are guys that are outside the top 400 projected big board. This one, as much as we just hyped up Texas, Taylor, we might have. Do we have a battle here? Again, I'll run through the Oregon guys.
Yeah, we might.
Jackson Powers Johnson, Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, Brandon Dorlus, Kyrie Jackson, Bucky Irving. Those are the top 100.
No, it's Texas. It's
still Texas.
It's literally, if you just went with their receiving core, I think they would probably be competitive. But then with everybody else, Jonathan Brooks, T'Vondre Sweat. Who else am I missing?
Byron Murphy.
Yeah. Not even talking
about Tavion Sanders.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, Oregon, you put up a good fight, but Texas has the edge, a little more than a little bit.
And you have them clearing Dominic Puny and Austin Booker.
Sorry, guys. I do.
All right. 3 Final Four teams down, 1 to go. Longwood does not play football. Houston.
Patrick Paul.
So, Patrick Paul, Nelson Caesar.
Another guy who I think is interesting is is he like a 4th round or a little later, do you think?
4th could fall to the 5th if I'd say top 150 pick.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be there late in the 5th, but he could fall to the 137, right where the Patriots are in the 5th. I wouldn't call that the biggest stretch in the world.
No, I think he's in that Mo Kamara. I need to watch them closer. I read the scouting reports. I looked at the highlights just to get a feel for how they move and everything. They're in that same realm of if the Pats really wanted a developmental edge because they want to maybe use Keon White inside. More of those guys have some good versatility. I feel like they'd be good fits.
So Nebraska has 4 draftable players as they try to get that program back on track. That program is going to be a wagon in a couple of years. Just you wait.
Really? Transfer portal?
Yeah, and they got Dylan Raiola, who's the top quarterback in his class coming out this year. They got him to transfer from Georgia or decommit from Georgia and go to Nebraska.
What did they give him an NIL? Was it NIL or something?
NIL, and there's some family connection. I forget what it is.
Oh, okay.
But
damn, good for them.
Omar Brown, the corner, I thought he was draftable. I guess the consensus boards don't have him as draftable. I thought he was a late 3rd round pick. Plays super physical. That's the one thing I know about him, and I like that out of my corners. Texas A&M, and this might set up, we might get a little in-state matchup here. It's going to be a good one. They don't have any guys at the top of the draft. Edrin Cooper is a linebacker. He's a top 50-ish player. But then you get down McKinley Jackson, defensive line, was at the Senior Bowl, and Anaya Smith, who's a super jittery slot receiver.
Yeah. And who else does Houston have? Patrick Paul and who else?
Patrick Paul, Nelson Caesar. They have one other guy way down the board.
I think Patrick Paul kind of puts them at least even, and then Caesar I think puts him past.
So Wisconsin, we get to this matchup. Braylon Allen, projected top 100 running back, bruiser. Tanner Bortolini is a center. He had a great combine. Those are two projected draftable players.
Gotcha.
And then James Madison. They have some guys this year. They're all later. They've got Jalen Green, who's a projected late day 3 edge. Reggie Brown is a wide receiver. And Ty Son Lawton. It's 2 words. TY space SON. Lawton was their running back this year.
Yeah, go Wisconsin. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know the guys on James Madison, so I can't.
They're all lower down. Vermont does not play football, so here we go. So I think these are actually kind of comparable because Duke has, like you said, Graham Barton, who's a solid day 2 pick, one of the top centers, and Dwayne Carter, who's an early day 3 pick as a defensive tackle, and then with Wisconsin, you have. Again, Braylon Allen, so Wisconsin doesn't have the top 150 guy or top 50 guy, but they have one more top 150 guy in Braylon Allen, Tanner Bortolini.
I'm going to give this one to Duke.
All right. Graham Barton. Yeah. Talk to me about Graham Barton.
I haven't really watched him a ton either, to be honest, because again, interior offensive line, most of the guys I've watched have just been guys who I think the Patriots are probably going to take. I keep seeing him mocked pretty early, like the Packers. Let me look up a scouting report real quick.
What about Bortolini? Are you familiar with, because he's obviously supposed to go a little later?
Not really, honestly. I feel like a fraud, but
no, you're great.
We do have to cover the actual team.
We've got a month to go, right? There's still a lot of time left. I don't blame you.
But yeah, I would. I like Dwayne Carter a lot. I know Graham Barton. I know he's a good player. So yeah, probably doing it too.
All right, let's go to the next matchup. Texas Tech, obviously a couple safeties who stood out at the combine. Darian Taylor Demerson and Tyler Owens. They've got Miles Cole, the edge rusher, who had a good combine. And then NC State comes in with Peyton Wilson, who's a top 50 linebacker, probably going to be the first linebacker off the board. And then that's kind of it for draftable guys. They have Trent Penix, a tight end, no relation. It's actually spelled differently, 2 N's. And then Brennan Armstrong, who's a late, he's a UDFA quarterback.
Texas, good day to be Texas.
Have you seen either of the safeties? I know you've watched a couple of safeties.
I want to watch Dadrian so badly. He's like one of the guys where when probably going to be somebody I just watched for fun one night, honestly. I really want to get in his tape, but I read his scouting report. He's one of my guys where like towards like the 6th round, if the Pats, I feel like I've done well enough with the offense, I usually end up taking him.
So what about that scouting report? What about all that makes him one of your guys?
Again, I know he's like a good center fielder. Let me see. Here we go. I'll read a scouting report real quick because it really is interesting. All right, let's see. All right, so strengths. Elite level athlete, proved his speed with class-leading 4.4140, offers versatility across multiple coverage schemes, enhancing team defensive strategies, instinctive playmaker, exemplifies advanced route anticipation, capable of recovering quickly to disrupt passes and secure interceptions with the present ball. Wait, what? When is he supposed to be drafted again? Because I can get him in like the 6th round, and this doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's more like 4th, 5th.
Yeah, so capable of recovering quickly. Oh, yeah, I said that. Utilizes proficient rapid roll technique for reliable tackling, demonstrates strong leadership, exhibits exceptional speed and quickness, extensive special teams experience. Like, this is such a no-brainer pick if they want another safety. Has to get better reading and reacting to deep throws. Right now, he's a step late in recognizing and adjusting to go routes and posts. Susceptibility to play action and misdirection plays can occasionally lead to overcommitment. High safety positioning sometimes results in delayed response to deep throws, allowing receivers to gain leverage. Run support's inconsistent. Pass difficulties and tackling technique noted, though improvements have been made. Tends to play conservatively and give too much cushion when playing off. So he starts off as a special teamer. You work on his technique, wait until he looks better in practice, and then you probably have really good value. I really like him.
I want to talk about another player you like too, because Boise State and Colorado each have one projected undrafted player in the draft. Florida only has 3 guys in this draft, 2 projected to be drafted. One is Kingsley Ekwun, the center that we talked a little bit about during the Senior Bowl. But the other, of course, is Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver. And I know you're a fan of his.
I am a fan of Ricky. I'm a little lower on him after studying the tape, to be honest. I thought he had more vertical burst than he actually does. Like, I watched him against Georgia, and they could not have cared less about him as a vertical threat, which was like, all right, like that's probably what it's more going to look like in the NFL. But his route running's fantastic. He's got really good hands, good ball tracking. I like how he contributes in the as a blocker. He's not like a consistently good blocker, but he is more than willing. I think he could be a little better there, but it stood out. And not great after the catch. Like, he's not like a Ladd McConkey type, but he's got a stiff arm. He's got some burst. He can slip the first guys. So, yeah, I like Ricky Pearsall.
So I just realized I shouldn't, though, automatically put Western Kentucky or Florida over Western Kentucky, because Western Kentucky also has a couple of players about the same range. They got Malachi Corley, the wide receiver, who's supposed to be a day 2 pick. And then they've got Austin Reed, the quarterback, who's kind of just a, backup quarterback, but he crosses out Ngabare, similar round. What do you think of Corley? And this could end up being a real conversation because they're expected to go in the same range, Corley or Pearsall.
Yeah, I haven't watched Corley very closely, mostly because he's small, and I don't think they're going to really go for small guys, except for like Anthony Gold, where it's like if he's in the 6th round, but he's still a really good player. Like, I looked at this draft class's yards per route run against man. It's like Xavier Legette and then Anthony Gold. Or Gould. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But yeah, Ricky Pearsall, I think, is probably going to be a more consistent contributor than Malachi, who seems like I've heard he's a better route runner than he gets credit for, but he's so small. And like the explosiveness after the catch is valid, but I'd probably give it to Florida here. Who else does Florida have? It's I forget. It's Pearsall and who else?
Oh, Ecubon, the offensive lineman. Remember, he was at the Senior Bowl. He's just being an a-hole in like a good way. He was just like overly physical.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Florida. But sorry Malachi, sorry King, but you did make it closer than it probably should have been.
I'm with you on Corley though. Like there's definitely the Debo comps. You hear those, and I get it because that's how he was used at Western Kentucky.
We need to stop with Debo comps. The Debo comps, there is one Debo. Yeah, that's what makes it.
I also did it for I had a loose Debo confrontation on Booty last year. So
I feel like people forget that, great players. Like everybody gets comped and everything, but it's like these players are comps for a reason. Like I understand when you want to say fit or like a certain skill set, but like no one compares Debo to anybody else. Like no one compares Justin Jefferson to anybody else. Like they are their own people because they're outstanding and they have specific skill sets. I just wanted to fire that off real quick because that's something that I understand why it happens, but it's so annoying. People are like, oh, he's the next AJ Brown. He's the next Debo. I've done it and I've learned. It's just don't, because if this person's that good, no one's going to be comparing them to anybody.
Well, and part of it for me, specifically for a guy like Debo, is it's not just the skill, it's the physical ability. And Debo's ability to move at his size is outstanding and take the hits and absorb the hits he does at his size. That's a big part. And you're seeing, even in that regard, you're seeing him start to get banged up and you're seeing he's kind of, I don't want to say he's lost his step, but I mean, he's hurting out there a lot and he's not going to have a long career. It sucks, but I don't think I'm breaking news here when I say that. So a smaller version of that guy.
And Debo's big. Malachi Corley, I think he's built, but Debo is massive.
Debo's rocked up. Debo, yeah. Debo looks like a weightlifter.
So
Texas Tech, Kentucky. We move on here. So we talked about the safeties from Texas Tech, Miles Cole. Kentucky, because we didn't talk about them because Oakland doesn't play football. They got Andrew Phillips, who's a early day 3 corner. Ray Davis, who's a day 3 running back. That dude runs hard. That dude beats people up running the football. And then they got Trevin Wallace, who's a day 3 linebacker.
Yeah. I'm leaning Kentucky just because they have earlier guys.
All right, we'll go Kentucky.
Sorry, safeties. Sorry, safeties.
Do the 3 early day 3 guys, Ray Davis, Andrew Phillips, do they supersede Ricky Pearsall? Or do you like Ricky Pearsall that much?
I don't like Ricky Pearsall that much. I hate to say it, but I don't.
This was kind of a weaker bracket for the draft, I would say.
That could go either way. If somebody wanted it to go otherwise, I would not really debate you.
I think we're gearing up for a hell of a final is pretty much where we're at this point. But we do have a couple more boxes we have to check here. So we get to Houston.
Duke is tough because they both have good defensive linemen and good offensive linemen.
Yeah. No, this is a trench one. This is a fun one. So you got Graham Barton and Dwayne Carter, or Patrick Paul and Nelson Caesar.
I think it's got to be Graham Barton because he's going in the first probably.
All right. Graham Barton, and then you're taking him over Kentucky, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So our final 4, which by the way, not super unrealistic, honestly. It's not the most likely thing, but
it's not.
I've done this where 14 seeds get to the championship. We've got UConn and Alabama. Taylor, I've had years where my draft bracket finishes with a better final score than my real bracket. We
already said if we win this, we're splitting the $1 million.
We're splitting the prize money if we get a perfect bracket. I mean, look, the UConn players are nice players. Christian Haynes has some upside, but
I'm already looking ahead to the final because this is going to be kind of nuts.
Alabama Duke's going to be nuts, right? No, you want Texas, right?
Yeah, sorry, bud. Sorry, Duke.
So let's break this down. By the way, this was my pick for the college football playoff championship. I just realized.
Really?
Yeah. And then they both lost in the semifinal.
I got a good feeling about this. I'm not going to lie. In the actual tournament, I don't watch a lick of college basketball, but I feel pretty good about this.
So here we go. Texas, Byron Murphy, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Devondre Sweat, Jatavion Sanders, Jonathan Brooks, Christian Jones, Jalen Ford, Jordan Whittington. Those are the guys.
Did you even say Xavier Worthy? Did you even say Xavier Worthy?
I thought I did. I meant to. If I skipped him, Xavier Worthy. Alabama. And I'll just count that. So that's 3 in the first round, 5 in the top 50, 6 in the top 100, 9 in the top 200. Alabama.
All right, down.
You want to write that down? So again, that's
three
none in the
first
top
rounders, 5 in the, sorry, my bad.
None in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
3 in the first round, 5 in the top 50, 6 in the top 100, 9 total.
Okay.
Alabama. And so here's the funny thing for me.
So they both have 5 in the top 50 and 6 in the top 100. Jeez, this is and 3 in the first. Wait, I think they have this basically the same.
No, I just read Texas twice.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah.
You're good.
It's like that's crazy. Okay.
It's a little off the rails, but this should be off the rails. Here's what's funny to me about Alabama this year, because usually we hammer, especially with Bill, Bama, Bama, Bama. We're not this year. And I don't even think that it's Bill being gone. Of their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 draftable players, 7 play defense and 1's a kicker. These aren't the guys the Patriots are looking for. So maybe we'll learn a little bit about these players since we haven't talked about them. And I do think some of these guys could have some relevance to the Patriots because if they go higher, they push other guys down the board. Dallas Turner, edge. Terrion Arnold, corner. J.C. Latham, tackle. Kool-Aid McKinstry, corner. Chris Braswell, edge. Jermaine Burton, receiver. Justin Egabogi, defensive lineman. Chase McClellan, running back. Will Reichert, kicker.
I actually think that this runs away with this.
You think who does?
Not run away, but I think it's a convincing win for Texas.
So I'll give you the numbers that we just did. Alabama has 1 in the top 10, 4 in the first round, 5 in the top 50, 6 in the top 100, 9 total in the draft.
Very similar. I think it's just that Bama has more guys at the very top.
Well, Texas doesn't have like a Dallas Turner.
Right.
Or even have you seen Turner at all?
I've seen like highlights, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because with those guys where you just know they're very good and are gonna
Have you watched Latham?
Yes, I like him. Not a ton. I really like him. He's not going to be there for the Pats. If they had like the 11th pick, he's someone that I would strongly consider.
One or two of these tackles are going to fall. We've talked a lot, Taylor, about trading up into like the mid-20s to take a receiver.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a run on receivers, A.D. Mitchell, Brian Thomas, maybe even Xavier Worthy, all go in the top 20. And it's J.C. Latham that falls to 24, 25, 26. Would you make the move?
You know my thing. You get the tackle before you get the weapon. The only reason I would get a weapon first is if it's someone who could be a day one starter and like start throughout the season.
Yeah.
If you can get a plug and play left tackle, I'm not thinking twice.
And you believe Latham is that guy?
Oh yeah. I think what's the issue with him? There's something where is it inexperience?
Inexperience and like a little bit of an injury history.
Okay, yeah. And I know that like Nick Saban said he just wanted him to play right tackle because they already had a left tackle, but he could have played left tackle.
And then have you gotten to watch Jermaine Burton? He's the only other guy here that would really be applicable to the Patriots.
No, because I don't think the Patriots are going to draft him with the whole thing where he hit a female fan.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
I've seen some clips, like he's smooth, but
yeah, fair enough. No, and that's a big part of his draft makeup. And for people who don't know, Alabama played at Tennessee. This was 2 years ago. Fans rushed the field, and you go watch the video. There's some debate about it's the whole fans rushing the field thing, and we don't need to get into that. But he needs no better than hitting people. Basically, it's where it ends. You can go.
And like, I'm not trying to. I don't know this dude. Maybe he learned from it or whatever. I'm not trying to like. I don't want to totally demonize his character because I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on the subject or anything like that. But like, I don't see Robert Kraft is not about that kind of stuff.
They know. I mean, they've been through this. They've made this mistake before. They know if they draft Jermaine Burton within 10 minutes, that video is going to be on everybody's timeline, and they're going to have to answer for it. And I
Yeah.
think they'd rather avoid the situation. So, all right. So wait, which way are we going? Who's our national champion?
I think you bank on your best players. And now that I think about it, Bama's just got more top tier studs.
Even though it's on defense.
Yeah. Defense still wants championships, baby.
All right. I'm just going to type in a final score so I can save this. We'll say a ton of defense. I have no idea if that's a realistic score or not. And there is
for either sport. Oh, I guess they have halves in college, so maybe. But.
Yeah. And that's the bracket. I don't know. Tayler, I hope this was educational to you. I hope it was educational to people watching. Just kind of a fun little way to have fun with the draft.
This was a really good time. I'm gonna leave it up there while I do the send off and everything. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I hope you all learned. But we're gonna wrap it up. Alex, this was fantastic. Excellent idea, buddy. As always, let the people know what you got coming down the pipeline that we should be looking out for.
Yeah, 985sportshub.com. Rolling through positional previews now and mock draft Mondays.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. And thank you all for watching. Had an absolute blast. Now take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See you next time. Peace.